and emerging.
A very good evening, everyone. Welcome to the AMMI Community Series Game 1 Season 2022. It didn't seem that long ago that Melbourne fans were celebrating the long-awaited premiership. It's been a big off-season. The Carlton Football Club have got a whole new coaching staff led by Michael Voss. Plenty to get excited about tonight, as much as you can in the early stages of March when it's 30 degrees. Jason Dunstall, welcome to the beautiful Marvel Stadium. Roof on if you don't mind.
Thank you, Gaz. Look, perfect playing conditions. It's a great matchup tonight because in one corner we have Melbourne. We know what we're getting now. They've built a strong list. They're ready to compete for multiple flags. The Blues, we just don't know. As you say, a new coaching staff. They've recruited really, really well. So this is the season they've got to start moving forward, not in tiny steps, but a couple of big ones.
I love this time of year, Jason. I mean, the expectation's great. And as you said, this is the Carlton Football Club who have Michael Voss, second time round. We're going to speak to him and both coaches, he and Simon Goodman, very, very shortly. But I love the fact that they've gone out and got some experience into this side. Adam Chera, George Hewitt and Lewis Young have all played plenty of footy.
They've had as good a trade period as anybody in the game. And to get a couple of quality midfielders like Chera and Hewitt into the mix gives them that much-needed depth and variety that they sorely lacked. They relied too heavily on Walsh and Cripps, didn't they? Week in, week out. Now they get better variety. They get some good quality. You get Lewis Young, who's a good utility defender, into the mix. And as I said, it's time now they've got to start putting some results on the board. I'm not talking about winning tonight. I'm just saying we need to see significant progress in the Carlton Football Club because it's been too long where they haven't been a part of things.
Well said. Familiar names not there, of course. Mark Murphy, Eddie Betts have moved on. Liam Jones for the decisions, and that's a new age departure, of course, given the COVID situation. You used to kick 58 in about 4 weeks back in your day. That's what you said to me. 58 goals was the Coleman medal winner last year, and Harry Mackay, which is a good return, but it's an area that they have to find some goals elsewhere. No Eddie Betts, next best. Owies, Cripps, Walsh, just over double figures. Where are they going to come from?
Got to find some more goals, you're right. Harry Mackay, potential superstar of the competition, but then there's a big chasm. So they've got to unearth a couple of goal kickers. And we're talking about guys that you can rely on for at least a goal a week. So players that are going to kick you 20 plus, 25, 30 goals a season. They need at least a couple of those. Is it those players improving, or are they going? Will Michael Voss switch someone and unearth another one? That's what we wait to see.
That's exciting for Carlton supporters. And coach has got new eyes. He may see something in someone that he thinks, let's push him forward. Let's go to the reigning premier. And isn't that got a nice ring about it, Jason? And this is a Melbourne side that haven't had to make too many changes, to be perfectly honest. They've got a list that runs really deep. The inclusions come Luke Dunstan, who's got good experience from St Kilda, but they've gone to the draft for the rest of their picks. We won't see any of those tonight. The departures, the most significant, no Nathan Jones for the first time in a long time. What a servant he's been. Neville Jetta, the other, is, of course. So they've lost plenty of experience at the top end, but they go deep. They bat very deep this side.
They do, and that's why I agree with the philosophy of basically just going to the draft, trying to get some good youth into the club and then help nurture that. And then if they develop, they can start putting pressure on some of the established players. But it's a really experienced list. I think it's 18 of the 23 premiership players. Here's pretty much the back six that's not there. Only one of the back six are there. The rest of them are having a spell this weekend. But that gives opportunities to other players. Yeah,
well, tell me this. Simon Goodman's going to join us very shortly, and we'll put this to the Melbourne coach as well. When you're looking for improvement, you look to the players who were close enough to experience what happened last year. The whole list was over there, but didn't get to play. And that's Tomlinson, of course, who went down with that knee reconstruction. Harrison Petty was the beneficiary. Wiedemann would be he gets an opportunity to have a look at it. Jaden Hunt, another. How big is it from your own experience to have those blokes pushing up?
When that happens, everyone embraces them at the club and says, mate, you're a big part of it. You helped us get here. All those sorts of things. It counts for nothing, mate, because you're sitting there with incredible envy, looking at your mates with a premiership medal around their neck. And what happens is these guys are the ones that then drive the training standards in the off-season, because they have to do whatever it takes, whatever they can do within their power to make sure that next time around that the opportunity presents itself, it's Joe Blow next to me that doesn't have the medal, but I've got one hanging around my neck.
You're always looking over your shoulder and they're breathing down your neck saying, I want your spot. That's a really good point. Hey, the best news team in the business is Tom Morris and Kath Lockton. They're here tonight. And, well, the Blues had a run around today as well, Kath.
They sure did. What a pump up. We love that from Gary Lyon. Tom, I wanted to get an update on Sam Doherty trying to make a remarkable return to footy after suffering a recurrence of testicular cancer last August. He played in the VFL today. Tell me he got through unscathed.
This is potentially a great news story, Kath. He had 38 touches in the VFL today against Casey, albeit in a loss. I'm told he was very close, if not best on ground. Now, Sam Wiedemann also kicked 4 in the first half, but he had a great game, Sam Doherty. Now, let's not forget, he also had a calf strain a few weeks ago as well. Now, the club isn't ruling him out for playing round 1. If he doesn't play round 1, surely it'll be soon after that. Potentially a great news story for Sam Doherty. Back in the Carlton team very, very soon. And just some quick news about Melbourne. Steve May and Michael Hibbert won't be playing tonight. Mitchell Hibbert won't be playing tonight. They'll be ready for round 1 in 13 days' time. Christian Salem has a knee. He'll also be ready for round 1. Other than that, it's a pretty full-strength Melbourne team.
We'll have more updates throughout the night. Here come the D's, Gary Lyon.
Oh, Gary Lyon, indeed. Your head snapped around when you saw them walking out, Gaz. Can they back it up?
Oh, they've got enough talent.
No, I'm not talking about talent. No, well, this is attitude.
You know what I've always said, and I don't want to go against what I say. I reckon back-to-back's the hardest thing to do in footy. Yeah. So that's all right up against. They're right up against it, but they've got enough talent. They're capable of winning, and the indications are that they want to come back and do something in front of their supporters. You know, over in Perth was one of the greatest experiences of my life, but they are desperately keen to come back and do it here in front of their supporters. And I reckon the coach, Simon Goodwin, would be very, very aware of that as well. And he's been good enough to join us ahead of the big game. G'day, Goody.
Yeah, g'day, Gaz. G'day, Jace. Nice to be here.
Nice, quiet off-season for your good self.
Yeah, it's always pretty quiet, mate, this time of year. So, but it's good the footy's starting. You're good to get it back into it.
No, it's great. I mean, this is what a nice problem to have, having to deal with the expectation of backing up after a premiership.
Yeah, it's a different challenge, but one we're looking forward to. And it's, we're going to embrace that challenge, but also respect the opposition and respect what we're up against. And we've had a good summer. We've worked incredibly hard. We're physically ready, and now we get the chance to really prepare well.
One of the things you've got to do, good, is you've got to improve to stay ahead of the pack, because they're all chasing. They're all trying to do a little bit extra. Where does the improvement for Melbourne come from?
Oh, the improvement comes in our mastery within our roles. Our players have still got a lot of developing in their skill, their execution, their ability to really drive their game. Tonight we get 5 different defenders that we had from our Premiership 7, so it's a great chance to look at the depth within our list, especially in one area.
You try positionally having a look at 1 or 2 things tonight?
Yeah, look, we'll have a look at a few little things. Angus Brayshaw will play down back. He's done that before for us, so he'll do that tonight, and it's something we might go to throughout the year.
It's great to see you. It's great to have footy back. It's great to have a crowd here as well. Enjoy the night.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Chase. Cheers.
There he is, Simon Goodwin, the coach of the Melbourne Footy Club. Well, we're ready to go. The players are ready to go, and I'll tell you what, the Fox Footy is ready to go as well. And when you see the big boys here, AFL 360 coming back, Jason, we know we're in good shape. Tuesday night, it's back, AFL 360.
It's an iconic football show, and it returns a streamlined edition, in fact, of On the Couch at a new time, 6:30 live every Monday night, and the encore at 8:30 as Gary Lyon takes the reins from Jared Healy. He'll be joined by Jonathan Brown and Nick Revolt. Can't wait for that. Can't wait for this match tonight and the AMMI Community Series. Our first genuine look at these two teams in season 2022. Jason Dunstall and Carlton, of course, a big recruit in Adam Cerra. What can he bring coming across from Fremantle?
Oh, it's going to be exciting. I think they've got another top-quality midfielder to take a little bit of the load off Cripps and Walsh and co in the middle of the ground. You can see the numbers there. I thought it was a fantastic get to snag him during the trade period. It was interesting, his comments about which club he was going to pick. He did his own forensic audit of the list and decided there were some good quality young players that he'd played with and against it at an earlier age, and thought this is a club going somewhere. He wanted to be a part of it, so now he gets the opportunity to be one of the leaders in that midfield, which is, we think, is probably the strength of the Carlton Football Club.
And I think his addition, along with George Hewitt, will enable Paddy Cripps, hopefully, to physically get back to his best, but also reduce the amount of buffeting he takes in there.
And just take a little bit of the pressure off. Not feel like you've got to drag everyone onto your shoulders and get them over the line each week, because you've got some good quality around you. Sam Walsh won't be there for round 1, but hopefully he's not too far away. We believe he's progressing very, very well, but it's just nice to have some more quality options and greater depth in the middle of the ground.
Yeah, and they want someone to jump into that top 5 in that best and fairest list. I mean, there's every chance that Paddy's going to be there, and Sam Walsh, because they're so good, Jacob Wiedering, but they want another name in there, because that will indicate that they are starting to develop and move on.
And whilst we're not seeing him tonight, it's very good news for Carlton fans that Charlie Curnow will be fit and ready to go in round 1.
Yeah, it'll be great to see, hopefully over a longer period of time, won't they? He and Harry Mackay together. And there is Charlie. Played in the practice match last week, just hurt his knee, but they didn't even send him for scans. He was just a little bit sore, but he'll be okay. And Paddy Cripps looked good last week, and he looks in good shape, doesn't he?
He looks like he's fine. And
does he ever not look good, Gaz?
Well, when we say that, we're talking about the fact that he got bigger on purpose to try and be the crash and basher. But you know, the modern game, you need to be able to cover the ground, and they've got a midfield in this red and blue team who do exactly that.
There was a man on the back of that huddle for Carlton, Zach Williams, that needs a big year. I thought he was particularly disappointing in a number of different roles. There may have been excuses for that, but from the outside looking in, they need a massive lift from that young man.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see. You know, they flirted with the idea that he may be a midfielder, but it became evident that he wasn't fit enough to be able to play that role. Now, whether or not he spent time fixing that over the summer, we'll have a quick look at it, but
he'll be back to start with anyway.
You'd imagine. And Melbourne, so I saw Wiedemann there. He's got the dark blue top on. Hutto, he's played earlier today, you believe, in a practice match?
Played a half, yep.
Kicked 4 in the first half.
Yeah. So I don't think we'll see much of it all here tonight, but I think Melbourne are going to go close to trying to replicate the normal conditions in a game.
Yeah, so Tomlinson, you know, we talk about the back group with Goody. They're the ones that are light on tonight, so Tomlinson gets a chance to put his hand high up in the air for round 1.
Any chance, Gaz, we could see a brother match up?
Well,
in the forward 50.
You're desperate to see Oscar play on Tom.
It's not going to happen,
boys, but
he's going to Ben Brown, Oscar.
Okay. Well, it's great. I mean, you only get one more opportunity before the real stuff starts, so we expect to see some pretty heated combative stuff early.
Especially those, it doesn't look like it there.
Are they laughing at each other?
Laughing at each other.
It's the players that don't have a lockdown position that will be held skelter, frantic tonight.
It is great to see Adam Tomlinson back in the team, as you said. Just 10 months after his injuries, recovered so quickly. He'll be one that will be desperate to be part of this Demons' success. As we get into it with Carlton and Melbourne from Marvel Stadium, and George Hewitt straight into the thick of the action, the former Swan, and he was trying to hit Owies, who lost his footing. Instead it's Brayshaw using Gawn and the D's to Neil Bullen, who can be so devastating so quickly, breaking Pickett, who kicks wide out to half forward. And a nice lead up from Spargo, just on the edge here of the 50 and perhaps of his range. And he called on when he wasn't really expecting to, so couldn't get a meaningful shot. Instead, happy to just play things nice and short to Jordan.
Angus Brayshaw started that. He was the one that Simon Goodwin said they're going to play him back tonight, so he was the one that took the intercept mark at half-back.
Hold that line.
So James Jordan, he did impress
15 gone.
Last year, although ultimately when it got to the end of the year he couldn't quite get into the 22, but he was in the 23.
Premiership player, Hutto.
So here's another who will be desperate to get into that top echelon of Melbourne players. Not the best kick, as you can see through the air. Brown got both hands to it. O'Brien, another player with plenty to prove. Try marking that. De Koning did try his best, and he wasn't far off. And it's out of bounds.
He's an exciting young player, Tom De Koning. Whether it be ruck or forward, they're going to use him in both of those roles, but he's a good athlete, he's a good size, he's only young, but he's going to start to make his mark, hopefully improving.
22 games, he's a classic case of the one we're going to see step up.
Yep.
Don quickly off to Viney, and then a deep kick. Fritsch from behind, put the clamps on McDonald. Oscar, and it's over the line. De Koning had just a minor procedure. He had a blood clot in his shoulder, which is never great, but they've seen that through with a bit of treatment, and he's out there tonight, which is great to see. He and Pittonet, can they play in the same team together? The Blues are hoping they can.
I know it's early to get into the real minutiae of footy. The scores from clearances has just become such a huge part, particularly in your forward 50 here, and Melbourne ripped it apart in those last 2 games of last year.
Oh, there's a guy you might remember, Petrarca. Flying shot for goal. He just sneaks through from behind. Well, obviously what Melbourne did out of the... I know you're talking about the forward clearances, but what they did out of the centre, and we saw it last week in the practice game out at Casey Field, it was too much for North Melbourne, so it'll be really interesting to see what teams do defensively against Melbourne in the middle when they get a run on like that. Cripps couldn't handle it. Oliver could, and the hands are slick. Petrarca happy to just keep sharing things around. Neil Bullen, Petrarca, and Ben Brown to kick Melbourne's first, which he's done.
Well, from a Carlton point of view, just got to get hands on footy, Jace.
Yeah, what we did see then, Gaz, though, was a turnover coming out from the kick-out. Mitch McGovern's going to be doing a lot of this. We saw him in the pre-game practicing his kick-outs. He was kicking some big torps from the goal square. This time he plays on and he has a couple of options, and in the end he chose the wrong one. He looked for Cripps in traffic, couldn't find him, and then there's a quick turnover. So it's going to be very, very interesting whether they can use the ball well enough to not get exposed by turnovers.
Yeah, getting it in your forward half and keeping it there. So the 16 possessions to 3. We've been going for 3.5 minutes, so that we've only had a possession a minute at the moment from a Carlton Footy Club point of view.
Do you like McGovern down back?
Oh, I love the fact that they're trying it. It's a huge investment for them. They've got to exhaust all avenues to try and get a return on it. So there's no reason why he can't play there.
Pitnet trying to work off Gawn. Instead it's Gawn to Oliver. And great work from Cripps. He wasn't letting Oliver go anywhere.
Yeah, tackled and not immediately getting rid of the ball if you had prior opportunity. That's the ruling.
Yeah, it's one to watch, isn't it, in the early stages of the season. Saad, just haphazard kick, hoping for the best. Gawn got hands to it. You can see how hot the footy is. Lever burrowing in.
High tackle, Melbourne.
Oh, it's a high. Even though he had the head down, it's deemed as high.
Really aggressive press from Carlton here. They've got every single player well inside their half of the ground.
Well, it will be really interesting tactically, won't it, to get a look at Carlton under Michael Voss and Ash Hansen, who's going to play a big role in the tactics, along with Aaron Hamill. Langdon on the flow, driving kick for Fritz, dangerous, but he lost his footing and Williams sees it up.
So that's transitioning from their defensive 50 to the inside 50 pretty easy on the back of an 18-man press inside their forward half. So all works in progress for the Blues.
What a season from Bailey Fritsch. What a grand final. On the throw. Pitnet. He's going to get the free kick here.
Stand.
Coning up on the wing with Gawn. He doesn't go in that direction. Instead, it's entrusting Williams, but he missed the target, and Petrarca popped in. Looked to set up the next phase of play. Couldn't connect with Fritsch. Instead, it's McGovern, and the hands, a good combination for the Blues to get it to the wing. Fisher grits the teeth and takes the mark.
Great.
Terrific hands under pressure.
Really aggressive from their back 50 then, wasn't it? Yeah. Williams up through the corridor. And you're going
Which
to be
is actually the right option, just poor execution.
Fisher, another hoping for a full season and to avoid injury, which he's had at times plaguing him. Durden jammed the ball on the boot, and Gawn getting back. Takes the mark in front of DeConey.
Might have got a little clip to the head for his trouble.
Yes, he did.
All-Australian captain. What a season from Max Gawn. Ready to thump it back. There's a host of Ds there ready. Jackson gets the run and the fly, but he was matched in the air. Pitnet, he's underneath. Jackson, though, on his feet again. Jordan, as they try and defend off half-back. Instead, Williams, dynamic. Kennedy needs a good finish. The Blues are on the ball.
Well, that's what they wanted when they went and chased Zach Williams as hard and aggressively as they did. As we talked about, they're pushing up really hard when the ball gets inside their 50, and then this is just some magic from Williams.
He won't get a stat for it, but Corey Durden's in there fighting for the ball and helping it move forward. He's been lively early on, but that's a terrific finish because there was a player coming across attempting to smother. He just focused on his target. So that's Durden there, just getting a touch on the ball, forcing it forward, allowing teammates to get there and support, and then a quality finish.
A couple of small forward spots up for grabs for the Blues with the likes of Owies and Durden. Of course, Eddie Betts has moved on.
Yeah, Fisher looks like the other. They're going to play back there, and as that small coming forward. So nice start, really nice start.
And good finish from Kennedy, another looking to try and make his place in this best 22 for Carlton. Oliver slamming, and not the best looking kick through the air, but McDonald was in the right place.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, Anthony. Scoring from centre clearances, scoring from any clearances is just such a huge mark and measurement. But Melbourne made that their trademark late in the year, and again, that's a centre clearance. Fortuitous in the end, but still the easiest goals you can get.
Another one of the great stories for the D's last year after they looked to move him on but couldn't find a home for him. Instead, he turned into a pivotal player in their premiership season, and Tom McDonald kicks truly from 45.
He was one of those players that you just think, you spoke about that great fight back last year. He's going to have to do it every year now. I mean, the heat's on. There is so much competition for positions in this great side, and they'll continue to recruit. There'll be young players trying to force their way in, players that missed out last year, Tomlinson and co, that want a spot inside. So he's going to have to keep performing, and it's great to have that pressure on all the players to drive standards.
It took a long time for them to settle, their best forward mix last year. Remember at the early part, where does Brown fit in, where does McDonald fit in, where does Fritsch fit in, where does Jackson
Wiedemann
play
has
there?
tried a few times.
Yeah. So they've got it a bit more settled. So Gawn now plays deep. This is the challenge for opposition teams. Jackson goes into the middle, and Gawn is a legitimate goal-scoring option. So he's playing 15 or 20 metres in front of Ben Brown at the moment.
33 goals last season, including 2 in the grand final, and led in goal assists for the D's, did McDonald. So Melbourne have a 7-point advantage, and out of the middle they want more. Jackson tried to work his way, force his way past Saad, who was having none of it.
Super tackle, little man on a big man.
And again, there's that. That was a free kick any day, but that's that prior opportunity. Immediately didn't get rid of the footy.
Saad's on the move and looking to get it back from Pitnet. It comes unstuck at centre half forward. Jackson and Pickett back there. Oliver on all fours. Kennedy delayed the hand pass and it was effective. Cripps on his left foot. That's tough to handle for the defence. Smith had to wait for it.
One of the great floaters,
yeah, it was. Lever bangs it up along the wing, and there's McDonald. Boy crashed into him there, number 37 for the Blues.
I love that float. Joel Smith, he just sat there and said, I'm not having a crack at that. I'm going to let it bounce because I couldn't possibly.
He's got to break a finger.
Brown, good start from him again. Spargo underneath. More short stuff for the Demons. Baker takes the mark just behind the centre square, and he can dash off. Pickett is the deepest player, but instead it's the shortest option that he chooses. And Petrarca.
You can see the difference in foot skills early in this game, can't you? They just keep hitting targets, the Ds, and the Blues have just turned it over a couple of times, particularly coming out of defence.
He tries to set up. I think it went a little lower than he might have imagined. So caused a bit of havoc. Spargo, there's 2 Blues back there. And one of them was able to get his hands to it. Oscar McDonald, the former D. Back along half forward. Melbourne have the stock of numbers in the air. Take your pick. Hunt couldn't take the mark. Baker's hands. Oliver tried one on. Hand pass to Spargo and then to Hunt, who kept on coming through. Unscientific handball. Pitnet, Boyd had to be quick with the hands. The pressure was still there. And there's a free kick.
Yeah, high contact.
Yeah, and it's going to Christian Petrarca.
Pitnet, who just maybe looked at it and saw it was Petrarca and said, I better do something there to try and stop him, because it wasn't Pitnet, was it? It was Williams.
Zach Williams, yeah.
So, again, Jason's right. They are going to really aggressively try and hold their footy inside forward 50, Carlton, but if they don't, they've been a little bit slow to come back the other way.
.39 disposals in the grand final. The Norm Smith medalist, Christian Petrarca. For Melbourne's third.
That nearly missed his boot. That is a shank.
A couple of times, Jason, this last few minutes, Melbourne have gone the tap-on, the double-handed tap-on, rather than grab the footy and take possession. Would that be something that they'd be happy with in the box?
Well, I mean, they're trying to play a really quick brand of footy. Perhaps getting a little carried away. Instead of taking possession and making sure of it, you can kind of get swept up in it when you're a good team and things are going well.
Great ammunition a quarter time from just staring down and said, grab the damn thing, you boys.
Cripps knocked it on. He couldn't take it comfortably. Kennedy's done some nice things. Hewitt tosses it up. Difficult one again to judge, let alone mark. At the back, Durden gets it on the boot. He's done a couple of nice things early. And the Blues' second goal, kicked by Corey Durden. Just played the 2 goals late in the season, 2 games late in the season last year, but he's had a good pre-season and making his presence felt here.
Yeah, last 2 games of the year, and as you say, he gets an opportunity. And Gaz, we spoke pre-game about where are the goals going to come from. They need to unearth players that can consistently hit the board. I love what he's done so far. Whether he's getting a mountain of possessions or not, or kicking a huge bag of goals, he's been involved in everything. The attitude's there. He wants to be a part of everything, and he just worked his player. He had a teammate that worked his player on the ball, allowed it to come over the back, and he was reading it and running towards goal. He's got good leg speed too.
Durden, Owies and Martin were back on that footy, so this is a bit of a makeshift back group for Melbourne, but the ground ball in Carlton's forward 50 has been dominated by those Carlton smalls, and that's a really good sign and a challenge for the Melbourne defence.
Sparrow trying to charge through, met by Hewitt, who he did a good job given how he was off balance and on the floor effectively. Kennedy took it from Cripps, sends it deep. Oh, look at that Koning, what a leap. Exciting for Carlton fans to see it, even though he didn't quite finish it.
Really good heat and pressure, though, from their small forwards again there. No easy footy coming out on that occasion.
Well, it certainly wasn't for Newman once he got possession of the ball. Now Cripps, he tackled high. Boyd flicked the handball up. Langdon. Oliver still can't believe there wasn't a free kick paid as the kick goes through the hands of Jackson, but Brown, it was a bit loopy, his handball went through the fingertips of Kennedy. Viney made good. Harms, he does that comfortably, breaking tackles, kicking forward, but kicking wide.
It's a shame that big hanger didn't stick for Tom De Koning. I mean, that's exciting, isn't it? Reaching over the top, and you just need one of those to stick to get your confidence up as a player.
And look, even there, Jack Martin got separation from, I think it was Baker that went to the left as a defender. Martin was the front and square. I think that's a bit of an issue there at the moment in the forward 50 for Melbourne's defence.
Jackson trying to get his best look at this. He did well, got to the front, but he maybe infringed in doing so. He did. Be interesting to see the percentage of time that Jackson is the main ruckman versus Gawn as the year gets on. I think if it was 70-30 last year, it might work back towards a bit closer to 50-50 this year.
Maybe the big dog will just say,
you think?
You might have turned the grand final, but just getting the main man out.
No, fair call.
I don't think he's in a hurry to give it up, Max, is he?
I don't think so.
O'Brien with the handball and then goes back in after it again.
Had a good 5 minutes here, the Blues. Their heat and pressure is much better.
Cripps, an indiscriminate handball, tough for Durden, and instead it's Neil Bullen burrowing through. Came out the other side, but it's all Carlton.
And that's what happens, Hutto. So you get heat around the footy, and all of a sudden you get...
Newman did his best to try and put it on a platter for Fritsch. Young did well with the reaching tackle, which was effective, and Carlton might be able to clear the danger after all. Oscar McDonald. Does he get a bit adventurous here? He did. Jeez. Williams just read the missed kick slightly before Pickett. Clever little poke there from Durden to enable Curnow and Hewitt to work together. And eventually they might get away. McDonald, that's a better kick down the wing. Mackay couldn't hang on. Smith did enough. And that enabled Viney to kick it clear towards full forward. 2 on 1 against from the side. Harms knocked a couple over. He wasn't able to take the mark. Hard yards for the Blues defence at the moment. Slipping and sliding with Boyd. Bang back to the wing. Mackay just out of reach for him. Bowie, Petrarca, and it's out.
So what I've seen early is that Carlton defence are prepared to be adventurous. They want to be pretty aggressive trying to move the ball. And if you're going to play that style, you've got to be able to execute. Right now they aren't able to finish the play. The intent's there, but gee, they've been sloppy coming out of their back six.
Bit of confusion surrounding that, but they decide in the end we'll have a throw in. Paddy Cripps, Hewitt, both with 6 disposals so far. And likewise Petrarca for Melbourne. Chera hasn't touched just a couple of touches so far. There was a big tackle though, wasn't it? Have some impact around the ball.
What I will say about that though, Gaz, those turnovers, they're trying to do what the good teams do, Carlton. I like that under Michael Voss. So they're not just taking ground saying, let's get it as far away as we can. They've got a plan. They're trying to hit targets, maintain possession. They just don't quite have the quality of ball use that the Ds and some of the other top teams have at the moment.
Silvani running as the extra ruckman at the moment, feeling the heat from Gawn in the mismatch. Saad just slapped it on the boot. As a result, Brayshaw was lining up options at centre half forward. There was plenty. Jackson took it, the double back from Fritsch. He's made his move. Ignored by Jackson. He goes left instead to Gawn.
Well read.
That was by McGovern. There's a good sign.
Yeah. He was frustrated, Max. He wanted the ball up higher in the air.
Yeah, and they've been going to him a bit obviously a couple of times, but this is again a good sign. He saw it, he read it, he attacked it. It was aggressive in the air.
No Jacob Wiedering tonight. Kick goes back to the wing. Silvani took it on and he got ball to boot. According to the umpire, Lever wasn't impressed. Good tackling, although I'm sure he had the football there by Brian on Jordan, so it is a Melbourne free.
So that one with Jack Viney, just from a rule interpretation point of view, they gave him time to try and break the tackle.
Yeah.
It would have been a split second away from getting pinged, I reckon.
Jordan darting and then kicking in the Brown direction. He got a good leap at it. Well matched in the air by Lewis Young, the former Bulldog. Brown receiving from Neil Bullen. Pickett denied initially. Sparrow was there or thereabout. Chera digging in. Back to McDonald again. And then over O'Brien. There might have been a little nudge, so it will be a free to the Blues wingman. And now it's 50.
Yeah, that's 50. That's the wasting time. He didn't give the ball straight back. The umpire said it. And he tried to do the old, it's 100. This will be a shot for goal.
It's a double.
Viney got in the way. But the original one, he tried to waste time by saying, is it his?
Yeah.
It was a one-on-one. He knew who it was.
It's a great call. And
I love that they're cracking down on it,
the
yeah.
presentation came during the week, and that the footballers know what they're doing. And now the umpires are going, hey, you're not getting away with that.
And then there's the odd exception of the player who doesn't know what he's doing.
And he'll still get pinged for being a pickle.
So Lockie O'Brien, who was delisted and then re-rookied, he's been given the opportunity here at the start of the year. He's a talented player. Can he make the best of it? Needs some confidence early in the year, and that'll help. He's put it through. And some good positive signs here for Carlton in the back half of this first term.
Well, he gave it 1-2. He was pretty excited about that, and I think Michael Voss will be thrilled with the endeavour and the way that they're trying to play. So the early indications are they want to be aggressive from the back six. So I think Jason's right. They've got to tidy that up because they haven't executed. Their small forwards appear to me to be, their crumbing work, and they've got Mackay as a focal point. They know where it's going, and their pressure's been great. And now they've been able to execute and kick 3 goals.
No arguments there, Jordan. You could see what he was doing.
Jack Viney, that's a pre-season
What was Jack Viney doing?
He's got the rule then.
So we had the presentation in the week, guys. The two things they're cracking down on, holding the ball and time wasting.
Yep.
They're not new rules. It's just a stricter interpretation, and I love the direction it's heading in.
Back with Gawn against Silvani. Silvani, clear advantage from the ball up. Oliver, though, fighting for it. Help from Viney and Gawn. Silvani jumped on, play on the call. Hewitt. Release was good in the end for Kennedy. And they have the stepping stones to get a clear shot for goal. Kennedy's kicked one already. And just missing on this occasion.
So you go, how could Carlton win a clearance with Jack Silvani against Max Gawn in the centre?
The perfect bounce of the ball.
And the pressure that Silvani then brought on to Gawn. I don't think they'd like to have it happen too often.
Gawn the target. 2 against him. McGovern got hands to it. Saad always tries to find a path forward. Hewitt, Chera, now Setterfield. With leading up the ground from Harry Mackay.
They've dominated the last 10 minutes, Carlton. They've owned the footy.
Coleman medalist sending it into the pocket. De Koning again threatening in the air. Durden exactly where he should be. Little pop kick was excellent.
There's that ground ball, inside forward 50 again. So right now you get a runner out to De Koning and to Mackay and say, hey, perfect. I don't care with your marker. Don't get out marked, because our smalls, of which Fisher's one, of which Owies is one,
Durden's the other. They all got good leg speed.
And they've been at the drop of the ball from the word go.
50 for abuse against Max Gawn.
50 for abuse against Max. You heard it clearly.
So all the new rules are on display.
Yep. Can't tolerate abuse of umpires.
That'll be, it hardly puts a foot wrong as Fisher kicks a goal, Max, but that's something that you'd look at and go, right, you're the leader of this organisation. It's been a focal point for the coaches. I'm sure it's been, the umpires would have been down there at the football club, and he let himself down on that occasion. But having said that, the Carlton Footy Club they've owned the game in the last 10 minutes from a positional point of view, from ground position. It's been a great 10 minutes.
The great thing about that was De Koning drew 3 of the defenders to fly for the ball, 1 against 3, and that leaves an outnumbered situation at ground level.
So you see Maxie going around the 50 having a word to the umpire as he's jogging off. The umpire says, I'm not having that.
Cheap drive-by, wasn't it? Not making eye contact with anyone, Max. He's just sitting there looking straight ahead on the bench.
Cop that.
Blues have kicked the last 3 goals. Jackson overrunning it. Petrarca went with the foot. Chera right over the football. He was desperate to find a teammate, but problem was there was a couple of handy demons in the way. Oliver and Viney work together, but Carlton have the numbers here.
That was Lewis Young, who read it really well ahead of Ben Brown.
Gave it off to Williams, and his kick is a little wide. So McDonald ahead of Young in the pecking order at the moment, but Young's done a couple of nice things, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's taken a really aggressive position, 5 and 10, 15 metres. You know that Ben Brown wants to come up at the footy, so Lewis Young's been able to take his leading space.
He's done well, Jack Viney. He took out Paddy Cripps flying for the mark, then he took out a cameraman in the chair, and then got the free kick.
And Kath.
Found Petrarca, unexpected space. Off to Jordan. And edging forward again, McDonald. Brown wants it in the pocket. Couldn't quite get it, wasn't far off. Blues looked to create that run with the handball. Suddenly Sard realised they were closing. Now to Koning, got both hands wrapped around it. Oliver, Baker, little pop kick, tough to mark that.
Play on, play on.
Chera rode it well. Newman, not so good with the hands. Oliver, tough for Setterfield. And he's knocked it out, potentially deliberately.
Again, they're trying to be very deliberate using the ball out of defence, even under pressure. It's going to come unstuck a few times. You've got to have the faith in what you're doing to persist with it and accept those mistakes.
Been inside 50 15 times, Melbourne, and only scored 2 goals.
A great sign for a team that's been criticised as being unable to defend in recent seasons.
Chera out wide again. Hewitt measured off the kick. Good lead up from Koning. Mackay the deepest forward this time. Over the top, Owies just couldn't quite find it. Brayshaw's effort was excellent. So now it's a loose ball, top of the square. Durden pretty much fell on his lap. But the little guys from Carlton have been so effective, and that's 5 goals.
Owies and Durden involved again. Yep. So the gee whiz, the way that they've been able to get separation from their immediate opponent would be a grave concern for Simon Goodwin. But for their ability to work hard, and when we look at that setup there, Jace, you got the big boy in Mackay and either Silvani and De Koning, and then you've got small blokes who've just been getting the right spot all night.
4 possessions for Owies, 5 and a couple of goals for Durden. They are making every post a winner. Looking very, very dangerous. And that's the sort of form that locks you down a position in round 1. Yeah, and there's opportunities at the moment for some Melbourne defenders that are getting a look at it in the absence of their premiership. You got Hunt and you got Smith that didn't play. Oscar Baker at one stage. It's got to tighten up.
Carlton lead by 17. Number 1 ruckman both back in action. Sparrow to Oliver. Gorm was left on his own. He's got Harms out on this side. Instead, he goes back to Bowie. A tough one to get your hands around. Young was just trying to fist it. It was left open for Fritz. He pounced. He tried to weight the kick into the pocket. Neil Bullen denied by the hungry Blues as they are. Newman, and then it's over.
Oh, no. Got that horribly wrong. It was over the line. It was over the line when it hit his leg. That's an unlucky one. An unlucky one for the Blues. The ball had actually crossed the line and then he flipped in the air and kicked it out of the air. But it had already crossed the line. Very tough one to see in a jumble of players.
And Jordan Boyd. So it's Harms with the shot. On top of the square. It's probably a bit too close for the Melbourne forwards. Rush kick out of there from Cripps. And Harms almost. Baker kept it in. Boyd again right on the line. Surely he's out this time.
So 16 inside 50s for 2 goals. They've been really messy going inside. Been too cute on a couple of occasions. He's going to the wrong spot. Carlton defence has stood up.
Well, it's one of the trademarks of what we're expecting, isn't it, from Michael Voss there? A more emphasis on defence, on team defence. Of course, Liam Jones, we've talked about Wiedering, but Liam Jones, the other significant absentee and a permanent absentee from the Carlton defence from last year. Setterfield. And now Newman at left half back.
Stand. Move it on. Play on.
Looking to get things organised ahead. Silvani dislodged. Lever and then Gawn. Gawn again. Lever. Brayshaw. Wasn't sure whether the hand pass or kick. He chose the kick towards Brown, but McDonald leads it best.
It's the Carlton mosquito fleet, Jace.
Jeez, he missed an opportunity there, Oscar McDonald. As soon as he looked at the switch, he should have hit it.
Well, that's because he turned one over earlier, so he second-guessed himself and gone the conservative route down the line.
And they had numbers set up for the change of direction as well.
Beautiful judge from Gorn. Langdon gets away from him.
Yeah, so Melbourne have been sloppy as well. They're by foot at just over 50% at the moment.
Max.
Missed it. It's been a really sloppy quarter. I think the pressure of Carlton's just, they've asked a question of them and they just haven't handled it at all well.
And your recruit, George Hewitt, leading the way, leads all comers with 10 possessions.
Cripps out of the air. It was a 45, 50-metre kick. Silvani, Joel Smith. Mackay keeps his feet, waits on the outside. Kennedy copped it. Oliver did well. Viney got them going. D's outnumbered again, back in defence.
Holding. Melbourne.
So even though they had the extra player there, Carlton, they've given up the free this time. It's Brown's ball.
Stand.
Well, Fritsch on his own at the moment.
You.
That's where the ball's headed. Petrarca decided to handball. Saad cops it.
Was there a prior opportunity?
Umpire Petrarca said it was holding the ball.
Umpire deemed no.
Thanks, boys. Hey. Thanks, Nick. Thank you.
Big fist from Pitnet. Kennedy at the run around. McDonald with the fist. Oliver lurking. Cripps was ready for him. They're just trying to get numbers at the footy, the Blues, and it's being effective so far. Kennedy back to Williams. Has the goal squared defensively to himself, but not for long. Petrarca almost manufactured a goal out of it as Cripps takes exception to something that Pickett said or did.
So a minute and a half on the clock. Are they aware? Do they continue to be aggressive? Probably not by the looks of that, and it's a smart play. Melbourne haven't given up 5 goals in a quarter too often through the course of last season. It's a good effort from Carlton.
Centre field. Silvani.
You're out. Play on.
Smith at the back. Gorn, though. Can't takes the mark.
No.
Come back on. Stay out, Harry. Outside 5. Play on.
McDonald is the target long. His brother, Oscar, almost took the mark. He would have enjoyed that. Kick it at their feet. Tom McDonald runs it headlong into Saad. Williams had the final say. A hand pass to Silvani, and now Mackay up to meet it. And it's out again. Cripps and Cozzy from before.
Yeah, it was a dump tackle on Newman, so Cripps was just sticking up for a teammate, and Cozzy doing the right thing, sticking up for himself as well. Doesn't matter if it's Paddy Cripps, I'll still give him a gobful and push back.
Too hot for that, Jace.
Come on, bundle it up. And McDonald's go at it again.
Stood up, Oscar and McGovern in the back half.
Neil Bullen to the outside. Hewitt, impressive opening turn for the former Swan. Oscar McDonald rode the tackle. Hewitt, possession number 12.
Here they go, down the middle. It's good.
Kennedy to Jack Martin. Hasn't done much in this opening quarter. He delivers that over the chest of Fisher. Jack Martin's first disposal, in fact, that was in the opening turn.
Counting down the clock here. They'll be well pleased, I think, with that first quarter.
Yes, after Melbourne took the early initiative, Carlton were able to get the better of them as the turn progressed. They kicked the last 3 goals of the quarter, and they are 5-1-31, leading Melbourne 2-3-15. Michael Voss, the new Carlton coach, there's a bit for him to enjoy through the first quarter in this AMMI Community Series, which is underway here on Foxford.
Quarter time of the first AMMI Community Series game, and Carlton fans to be well pleased with what they saw. They banged on 5 goals against the best defence, or last year's best defence in the competition. after it looked like it might have been one-way traffic early in the piece. And I think Michael Voss had ticked a few boxes, Jason Dunstall, that coming in the game he would have liked to have had a look at, and there were some impressive performances.
There were, and you're right, Melbourne jumped out of the blocks, looked like they were going to control this game, and then Carlton bounced back. I think that's the most pleasing thing of it, and we're seeing some new faces. We spoke about their structure up forward, so we know Harry Mackay is going to be a great target, but they've got some smalls around them. Owies is playing forward, Fisher's gone back forward, and a young bloke by the name of Corey Durden, who was picked number 37 a couple of years ago in the draft. He played the last 2 games of last season. He's a small forward that just gets involved here. He gets touches forward, he gets on the end of this one, he gets involved a number of times. He's nearly done enough in the first quarter, Gaz, to pencil himself in for a debut in round 1.
They're smart like that. In fact, the ground ball stuff early was a real problem, and as exciting as it is for Carlton, it's defence for Melbourne. I mean, every time the ball went in there, it was Hunt was trailing in, Baker was trailing in, even Bowie. So from that point of view, I think they'd be absolutely wrapped. And their pressure was great. They tried to be aggressive out of the back half, a little untidy at times, but at least the Michael Voss plan, we're having a look at it and we can see it.
And you've got to accept mistakes. There's going to be mistakes. All players make mistakes, even players at the good sides, but they're going to make a few more.
Double-handed, when you don't take the footy and you hit the ball double-hand is always a concern to me. Melbourne
I saw you bristle up a little bit. You thought the D's were getting ahead of themselves.
Twice in the first 10 minutes, I reckon that would have been something they'd throw back at him.
A couple of handy pickups, aren't they? I mean, George Hewitt owned that first quarter. He had so much of the ball. And Cherry just accumulates. Sometimes you don't notice him.
He did. And I remember Hutto at one stage said he'd only had one, he ends up with 8. Very nice start for the Blues, Hutto.
Yeah, it certainly was, Gary. And Michael Voss, who looks like he could probably still play. He looks in great nick. Would be terrifically impressed with what he saw, albeit it's the first quarter of a practice match effectively, but it's a final hit out, and so they've spent so much time on the track in the summer, and this is an opportunity as it was last week, but this is a little more significant with cameras and a crowd, and starting to put some of those things into practice. So nice start. Long way to go, but 5 goals in the opening term against the reigning premiers will give them some confidence.
Gone very small across half forward, the Blues. They got the smallest half forward line you've ever seen.
It is small, but they've been dangerous so far, as we've discussed. Cripps will try and get it in there quickly. Kennedy, who's had an excellent opening term, he was trying to kick it deeper than those small forwards, but he misfired, and that allowed Bowie in, who was a 7-gamer, a premiership player, to pounce, and it's Fretch, who was committed to his left side, so then had to awkwardly kick off his right when that was blocked. Jordan found it, was able to turn O'Brien and then deliver to Pickett. Very quiet opening turn for Cozzy Pickett. Casual looking kick off one step, and you can see the result.
And you can see Mitch McGovern just working into the role.
Trust his left boot, but Lever puts paid to that.
So they were Owies, Ed Curnow and Fisher at half forward, which meant that Lever, who we know how important is he had to come out and play on Owies effectively as a half-back flanker. So he's throwing a real different look at it, their forward 6 setup.
Hard to get past Gawn. It did pretty well, though. Get a hand to it. Shearer poked forward by Oliver. O'Brien with 2 Ds to deal with, and the most significant was Christian Petrarca, who was right in his face and quickly wrapped around him. Yeah, he's an interesting one. He's the old basketball background, but not your tall ex-basketballer. He's a much shorter player who's transformed his body, and he's making a really good fist of it so far. Bowie with a high ball, and that was easy fodder for Young.
I just see from that slow play there, Mitch McGovern is the one that drops back in the hole and is playing on his own at the moment. Now, not only the Arts of coach, don't give them what they want. That's exactly what Mitch McGovern wants right now, to be playing on his own in the back half.
Gone with the soft touch. Jordan, Neil Bullen. Jackson again. McGovern made the charge, made the good call.
So I'm just trying to work out who it is and whether it's Gawn pushes up to Ruck or Jackson pushes up at the moment, but he's got it on his own terms, and he's getting more and more confident as the game rolls along.
Wonder how much help his brother's given him in playing this new role.
Not a bad role model.
No. Jackson with the tap, Young with a quick kick, a couple of Ds there. Gawn and Viney almost collided. Gawn got the footy. kicked it out on the full. From all reports, he's got the smarts, he reads it well and understands the decision-making required to play that position.
Yeah, and as long as your team is, has got pressure on and around the ball, you get a really good look at it as a half-back.
Newman to Kennedy. Had 10 touches so far and kicked a nice goal. So a good start for Matty Kennedy. Newman, his left boot should carry the distance on the kick for Setterfield. Didn't mark and then ran into Lever, so it comes adrift. Lever twice he tried and decided against it to the right. Jordan with the kick, couple of flyers. Oliver was one. Viney was there.
I think going forward, from a Melbourne point of view, has been horrible, been really messy. I mean, you're going there forward to two of your midfielders when you've got Brown and you've got Jackson inside 50.
Oliver a bit sore. Ruckman cuddling each other. Kennedy used his big body to advantage that time. Shearer to a one-on-one, and they're winning them at the moment, the Blues. Owies off to Martin. Nice kick off the left. Just away from Harry. Slightly greasy ball. Couldn't reel it in. Now he slipped. Gets it out of bounds under pressure from Fisher.
16-8 from a clearance point of view in favour of Carlton. This is against one of the best clearance teams in the comp. That's another one, another box that they will have ticked. That's a fantastic response.
Kai likely to just play a half tonight as he comes back from injury. Hasn't really looked himself, has he, so far tonight?
And he's a little frustrated. That last contest against Tomlinson, a little bit of push and shove afterwards. Just the one possession thus far.
Cripps almost close enough. In fact, he was. And there's a good sign for Carlton. Patrick Cripps leading from the front, kicks their 6th goal.
Players are getting used to it, aren't they? That stand rule for the man on the mark. He virtually becomes a bystander, just watching on, because you can run straight past him, kick on the range. Instead of kicking from 55, Cripps gets the kick from right on the 50-metre arc, and that's all it took.
Great finish. It's a fantastic finish, and just some awareness too. So again, 6 goals to 2, 22-point margin. Michael Voss couldn't want for much more right now. Just if we get a look at this Carlton forward setup, now how much they're going to, this is what they're going to have a look at throughout the course of the season.
I understand Charlie Curnow will come back into the mix too.
It does, and how much is it is predicated on where they want to get Lever? Like Lever wants to play on his own terms. Right now he's going to come out and play half-back flank on Jack Silvani because it's Ed Curnow at centre forward.
Career high 13 goals last year for Patrick Cripps. Gone. Missed the target, then had to try and rectify the situation, which he almost did, but Hewitt was there with the backup. Now O'Brien, which way? Darts back through the middle. The switch is on for Setterfield. Silvani charging it. They want to keep coming this way. Eyes up further down the ground. A bit of space was cleared, and that was clever. And Kennedy's playing as good a footy as we've seen probably at all since his early days, at least with the Giants. This is really positive stuff from the Blues. To full forward. De Koning wasn't far off as he surfed the pack. Langdon just slapped it on the boot, and you can see the result. He thinks it was touched.
So pretty simple from here. What they've been doing, just get a fierce contest in the air and win it at ground.
Boyd with the set-up kick. Silvani, Dowie. Changed his mind midstream there. It ends up out of bounds. We'll have a throw in.
See, they look sharp in the first 5 or 10 minutes of this game, and all of a sudden a little bit of pressure from the Blues, and they're just finding themselves going through the motions a bit. The D's a little bit sloppy.
Lots of pointing going on both teams as they try and get organised around this stoppage. Gorn with the tap. Petrarca hit it with momentum. Boyd tries to slap it back. Neil Bullen ran slightly around it. Well done by Williams, and he got good help, and the Blues can work it back through McGovern, and now forward. Kennedy's hot.
Well, again, when you always a little bit sore, he's having a fantastic game, but you look at the starting position of the defender, in this case it was Jaden Hunt, there's a bit of arrogance about it. It's like, oh, well, I can play 10 or 15 metres in front.
It was also undone by some great vision from Mitch McGovern, who swung onto his opposite foot, the left, and drilled a 50-metre pass on the money.
And that's another part of the reasoning behind sending back, is because he is a beautiful field kick.
Progressed last year, Matthew Kennedy, but looks like he's jumped up, if this is any sign, again this year. Originally picked 13 at the Giants, so he was a high pick. Getting plenty of the footy, and he hasn't quite finished off his work in front of goal. It's 1 goal 2 now.
To the post. But again, if he's raising his level with the new midfielders that they've recruited in Chera and Hewitt, and then you get Sam Walsh back and Cripps and a couple of others that roll through there at times, starting to take on some great shape, that Carlton midfield.
Plus 40 in possession, they're absolutely smashing them around the footy.
Something's cooking, Jason. Newman to the pocket. Cleared the head of Mackay.
Good pressure again.
Good hands again from Kennedy.
So again, in terms of setting up and what you're trying to achieve, Jake Lever's had 5 positions, hasn't taken a mark for the game. And we know what he can do and what he's capable of as an intercept marker. So I like how they've prepared in their forward half.
Jackson and De Koning, who took the front position, didn't really have anyone to give it to. I mean, one thing about winning the flag is you know that opposition teams are going to study you in depth. That's
100%.
Clearly going to happen to Melbourne, isn't it, with the way they've played? And Lever, an important part. Obviously, no Stephen May, amongst others, in that defence. Makes a pretty big difference. Neil Bullen searching towards the boundary. McGavin.
He looks comfortable, doesn't he? Playing behind the ball.
This will be the emerging story of the night, I think.
Skies it deep. Mackay that time had a good look at it. Silvani got the spat. Smith got a random kick. Could have gone anywhere. Sparrow. Harms. Jordan was the target. He knew he was going to cop it the moment he got there. And that's out on the full. It's Newman who's within range, but obviously hampered by the fact he's a left footer. Chipped it for Mackay, and it might be a free.
He probably didn't need to do it, Tomlinson. It's one of those where you just use your body to take your opponent underneath the ball. It doesn't look like you're interfering that much, but the umpires picked up on it. He wasn't contesting the footy.
Only player in the AFL to average more than 3 goals a game last year, Harry Mackay.
50 metres.
He's going to put this through now, you would imagine.
I think that was against Tomlinson. He said a few little things to the umpire. Didn't like the decision.
Well, I mean, isn't this just a city back to go, well, the premiership side has come in here to a practice match, if you want to call it that. And they've been undisciplined, they've been messy, they've been outworked.
He's kicked it into the race up on the top level. Extraordinary. So they're having a discussion now, but for all the players that are watching, this is a great lesson. Shut your mouth. There's no point saying anything to the umpire. No point. They're not going to tolerate any of this, so don't do it.
And if you're a slow learner,
you're going to get pinged.
You pay the price.
Wasn't a lot of it.
He was talking to him about the replay. He goes, "Oh, you're joking." He took the mickey out of him.
No, hang on. Well, this was always going to be the issue. Where is the tolerance level?
Well,
is there any tolerance, or is it on that basis? Then okay, I'm happy with that.
Have no tolerance.
0.
It's the only way they learn, and then it doesn't become an issue.
Well, and there'll be people at home saying, "Well, you can't be a little bit. You've got to be one way or the other." So it's a 0 tolerance approach.
Oh, I agree, and that's what they're doing by the looks of it.
We shall see. Free to Chera.
Getting a bit frustrated with some of these free kicks to D's. The Blues are getting into the ball. They're going in hard. They're going in low.
Plenty of movement deep. Silvani got a clear run. Wasn't far off. Tomlinson hampered. And it's well judged on the way out. Jordan can set up the kick out wide. Nicely delivered onto the chest of McDonald. Jordan keeps on running. Gawn and Brown are the sizable targets down the line. He got himself into and then out of the pickle with the short pass to Baker.
So they have got the 2 tools down the line. They don't want to go there at the moment.
3 tops, in fact. Jackson's just behind Gawn.
That's sloppy. And this bloke's just having a picnic.
Yeah. Kennedy. O'Brien. Lewis Young.
I like what they've done here too, Jace. They've gone a bit shorter and been a bit tidier. You know, they tried to bite a fair bit off early, but they've made a bit of an adjustment here around the back half.
But still looking to hit targets and maintain possession.
Yeah, which they're trying to do, but they're being aggressive up the corridor. So any time they missed and they were ugly early, they paid for it. But now they seem to have addressed it and made some nice adjustment. Clearances at the moment are 19-10 in favour of Carlton.
Petnet slams it forward. Didn't really favour Silvani or Mackay. Good tackle from Silvani on Tomlinson. Owies shakes off Harms, Chera. Mackay's bounced back. He's ready to go.
We were out there pre-game doing the pre-game stuff, and he wandered past us, Jason.
He's a brute of a man.
Just looked at each other and went, my lord. When he jumps at it and gets his arms up and he's set, then ain't much you're going to be able to do.
And he's starting to get continuity in his game. A couple of pre-seasons under the belt, back to back. He's only going to get better and better.
Yeah, he looks like he's got it together a bit more in the second quarter with his timing compared to the first. The Blues to lead by 35 points.
I hit that post twice this quarter. It could have been a huge lead.
3 metres. Thank you. Play on.
Oh. Yeah, not the best kick. Marked again by McGavin. He was hoping that Silvani might be able to run and jump, but instead it's Owies.
Well, there's the story of the night. There's McGavin. He's taken 4 intercept marks. Yeah. So he just looks like that's where he should have been playing from day one. And then it's a small mosquito fleet. It's Marku, Buckley and Sheldon down there for Carlton. It also goes to the defence of Melbourne. They've been half committed and not, arm across or anything like that. They give away too much room.
His third season coming up. He was third in their goal kicking last year with 15 goals, 17, Matthew Owies. And he pops that through for their 8th goal. And 7th in succession as Carlton lead by 36 points.
It's exciting. It's a better looking structure up forward, Gaz. I'm never a fan of having 3 tools unless you're really trying to exploit a particular setup. I think having good pace, having 3 or 4 good, quick runners that can do what we're seeing do. I mean, when you remember when Richmond started to get on that great run, they brought in Castagna, they had Butler, they had Rioli, they had small, quick players that could push up, get back with the flight, and hit the ball when it hits the ground. This is what we're seeing here as well.
And bring heat and pressure, which about after the first 10 minutes, they brought it. And that's what changed the whole game around, is they just started to put real pressure on the opposition. It either haven't got the stomach for it right now or can't handle it.
Oh, he showed last year that he could take a mark, and that was a terrific one-hander. Kicks his first goal. So let's see if the D's can get something started out of the middle. Oliver and Gawn. Brown should be well placed to fly. Young had the better of him. Again, Saar. How's that for quick delivery onto the chest of Fisher? Should open up some options. You have to say, though, the D's pretty well positioned ahead of the footy that time. Smith. Helped on further by Baker, and now Harms brushes a couple of flies. And the ball knocked out in the tackle from Viney. Harms came again. Petrarca up and under. 3 Blues in the air. Should mean there's Demons scouting. Fritsch was one. Sparrow another. Brown to Fritsch. There's a little path through to get the Demons back on the board from Bailey Fritsch.
Too much talent for them not to come back at some stage. And if they get opportunities forward, there's a lot of quality there. Bailey Fritsch, coming off an outstanding year, was one of those that stayed down, ran over the ball first time around, but they had the numbers. A little bit of a look-away handball from Ben Brown, not his best, but it eventually found the target, and he was able to finish.
If we get to have another look at that ball in air, I'm just wondering whether Fritsch was McGovern's at that particular time, because again, McGovern flew as the unmanned defender, if you like.
He got taken out by a teammate. McGovern.
Yeah.
Flying from the mark.
But again, no, there's been no delivery. I mean, Max Gorn gets a footy in the middle of the ground with no pressure, and the best they can do is kick it on the head of Ben Brown. So there hasn't been great structure ahead of the footy for Melbourne either.
First goal since the early point of the opening term for the D's, and their third of the match so far. Jackson, Petrarca, Oliver, Hewitt with the desperate lunge. Petrarca only got a half of that. Jordan in front. O'Brien did enough. Under pressure immediately. Sparrow maybe fell on his back. Oliver, Petrarca, they're swarming, and it's nice touch. Oh, just got away from Fritsch. Slipped through the hand. Sard, Williams, McGovern right in his face and all over him. Not sure whether he disposed of the ball correctly. And in the end, Petrarca hits the post.
He got exposed there. It should have been an easy mark inside 50 to Fritsch to start with. Mitch McGovern he's getting a lot of the ball, Gaz, and I think he's enjoying it. And he's forgotten about an opponent.
Well, and this is the thing. Like, we're looking from where we are. He's been, as I said earlier, he's playing on his own terms. So Melbourne have got to make the adjustment there.
Holding, Melbourne.
But that was a bit more Melbourne-like. You know, that was more intent from Petrarca and Oliver and those boys that got involved in the middle of the ground.
Slow play into the 50. Brown, the deepest full. Looking to get the run and jump. Carlton are ready for him, and they have numbers at the back. Ed Kerner. Oh, dangerous kick, but a good one. Yeah, opens up for Chera. He was almost playing on one way. In the end, he found a good target. Fisher. The hard run from Martin. Tomlinson's left his man. So Mackay's all on his own. He's seen him, Martin. And Harry couldn't quite take it. Well done, Brayshaw. Ran back hard to defend. Equalled the numbers up. Oh, and he's cleaned a couple up.
It's a good effort from Brayshaw. Tomlinson's timing was just ever so slightly out, left him exposed. Brayshaw pushed back really hard and just got the fingernail in.
Baker and Owies there with the collision. Cripps. That's close. He's kicked his second of the quarter.
That's the Patrick Cripps of 3 years ago when he was arguably the best player in the comp or in the best handful, isn't it? Winning the ball at clearance, having blokes hanging off him, having the strength to stand up in it all, and then either get it off or, in this instance, kick a goal. Been some fantastic signs from him tonight as well. And when you got Oliver hanging off him with one arm, and he's still good enough and presence of mind to kick the goal.
Look at the possession winners for the Blues. You've got Kennedy on 15, Hewitt 14, Newman 13, Cripps 12, Chera 12, and McGovern on 10. I mean, you couldn't have scripted that better when you're looking at the new players coming in, the new structure that you're setting up, and everyone's sharing the load.
And wouldn't he be, I mean, put yourself in his shoes, who's carried this load for a long time. Last year we knew, he ended up at the back and all that sort of stuff. Now he looks around him and goes, well, if Kennedy can keep at this level, we've got Hewitt, we've got Chera, we've got Walsh to come back, footy becomes a hell of a lot more enjoyable.
Yep.
Starting position warning against Melbourne, okay? All right, I'm going to throw the ball up. All right. Set. All good to go?
So the 666 warning. Another throw up instead of a ball up. Jackson, Pitnet, just kept it. Now Cripps, Kennedy. Decided to handball over Bowie rather than run through. Meant Fisher needed to do his best evasive work, and he did. His kick not so good. Lever well positioned. Durden disrupted. Owies again, and they're going to get another goal. Curnow finished it off, but it's Durden and Owies and Fisher. All the little guys of the Blues. Getting them excited.
We sound like a broken record, Gaz, but this setup and must have Michael Voss excited. He's decided, I want speed, I want crummers that are desperate, that are urgent, that can attack the footy, but they can also attack the man if we haven't got the ball.
And you know
that's a desperate sport when he was never really in the contest, Durden.
Durden and Owies, which is... So they've taken 2 marks in their back 50, Melbourne.
Yep.
2 marks only in their defensive 50, and it's not like they've just put on a marking display, these forwards. They have been defensively minded when they haven't been able to mark, and it's brought the smalls into play. It's been the story. And that there, 4 goals to 1 from a stoppage point of view, is a dream result against a side that had made that their own towards the end of last year.
What an incredible contributor Ed Kernow has been through. Quite a lot of thick times at Carlton. now. Harms playing it wide. Tough bounce for Brown. McDonald. Got a couple of teammates in close, but didn't quite feel like he could fire. That's come off the head of Martin. Petrarca to Oliver. Just tugged the ball towards a teammate at the top of the 50. Bailey Fritsch again falls into the mark directly in front.
Two Carlton players flying against each other, Martin and Kennedy. They should have wrapped that ball up. I thought Oscar McDonald had a couple of other options that probably would have been better in the end. It was a dump kick. They had the opportunity to mop it up. They didn't do so. When you play against a good team, you get punished on turnover, and that's exactly what's happened.
So Bailey Fritsch did wonderful things in the famous Melbourne Guernsey last year. Drives it through for Melbourne's second goal of the quarter, 4-4-28. His second goal of the term as well. And it's back to 35 points.
Well, it was an amazing year, wasn't it, from Bailey Fritsch last season. And there's the two Carlton players going against each other, Martin and Kennedy. Not sure about the intent of the kick from Oliver, but he just got it in there quickly, and Fritsch able to read it. He announced himself last year, guys, didn't he?
We ended up kicking one goal more than the Coleman medals.
Yeah.
Now, of course, goals in finals
yeah.
Don't contribute to the Coleman, but he kicked 59 for the year, which is... And 6 in a grand final. What was your most in that granny there, Jason? Oh, he just held up 7 for this.
Stop it.
Almost won the Norm Smith. Second best in the grand final. High ball from Gawn. Slap back to him. And Cripps still making his presence felt even when the ball was loose. O'Brien, extra width for the Blues. Hewitt. Quick change of mind. O'Brien. Nice take though from Gawn. Brown had to adjust in running. Got to where the ball was coming. Young, 4 bites. Not enough for the umpire. For Ben Brown. Saar back to Young. Cripps had a quick look, knowing that it wasn't going to be an easy bounce to read. Petrarca breaks into the clear. Sparrow, now Pickett, has a good glance up into the 50. Hasn't been his night so far. Fritsch had to try and make the running again. Flicks it over into the pocket. Spargo, has he got the touch on the kick? Not far enough for Pickett. That wasn't the news he was after, as he was vulnerable to the tackle. Kennedy again, possession 17.
Max. Next players.
Just 3 disposals from Cozzy Pickett.
Yeah, he's looked a little sluggish, as has a few of them. Jack Viney just hasn't found his mark at the moment. Luke Jackson struggled. Brayshaw at half-back hasn't really worked.
Oliver upended Fisher in frustration. All fair. Mackay running a big arc. You're getting it deep. Durden stays down. He and Brayshaw contending.
In fact, all those small defenders from a Melbourne point of view, Jaden Hunt, Brayshaw, Baker when he's been back there, they've all battled against their direct opponents. Hunt, they've been sensational. Owies and Durden particularly.
Under strength Melbourne defence tonight. 10-3 plays 4-4. To Koning, but well read by Oliver. Get it out of their kick. It lands on the chest of Neil Bullen. Blues well positioned ahead. So you can see the uncertainty on the face of Alex Neil-Bullen. Middling kick aimed at Jackson. And McDonald did enough. Williams and the chain of handballs effective. Fisher with a high ball. Cripps comes. Smith stood his ground and ripped the wall. Neil-Bullen just misses.
Yeah, nice icing on the cake if Cripps can go down now, rest, have a little bit of spell and kick a goal as a forward. I mean, that would be the absolute dream result for a first half from the skipper, who's back and looks to be back at or near his best.
Gawn Spiking it forward as far as he could. Spargo wriggled free with a handball. They've turned it over, though. Boyd working it back through Newman.
It's a McGovern kick again.
From McGovern, wasn't it? Yeah.
He's good on the opposite peg, isn't he?
Cripps on the way off the ground. Gave a hand pass to Saad. Cripps limping a little. Maybe as a result of that previous contest. Brayshaw's hands were adept, and the ball via Hunt is over and out. He might get a free kick here, Jaden.
Just a little too exuberant, Corey Durden, in trying to put pressure on. Grabbing the man when he wasn't in possession. But love the intent. Love the pressure that they're trying to apply.
Touched by Silvani. There's another example of that. Doing the little things and doing them very well.
Mark going up. Thank you, Mark. Max. Just keep the meter. Mark must keep the meter. Thank you.
Gorn just looking to put it in the path of Sparrow. Didn't quite work out, but the backup was fine. Viney, Langdon, Hunt. Viney again. Saad just in the nick of time. Top of the arms.
Called by the umpire behind play that had a better view, a different angle.
Viney up to the numbers. McDonald. Fritsch has got himself clear again.
You, mate.
He's got two to contend with, and Lewis Young stepping through. The highest of balls. Oh, McDonald got an extra ride. He didn't bargain for it. The umpire deemed... I thought he was going to say he was tunnelled. Instead, it was Carlton's ball. O'Brien's kick smothered by Bow. He goes back in after it again. Saad's a good man to have with a footy. Down the line, Silvani can work it over the top again to Owies. He's being advised to have a shot, but he has got a potential short pass on here for Durden. So it's
15 gone, Mitch.
He'll take his time. The handball off to McGovern. In the end, it's going to land at the top of the square anyway.
Just in the back, Melbourne. Oh, pick up. Thanks, mate.
Free kick goes to Holmes.
Stand.
First quarter ran over 31 minutes. We've got to the 30-minute mark of the second quarter, Jace. Be interesting to see how both sides attack this game from a minutes management point of view with their senior players in the second half.
Yeah, we might see a few missing after half-time. There'll be some managed time-wise, workload-wise. But none of that should take away from what's been an incredibly impressive effort from the Blues thus far against a very strong Melbourne team.
So you're riding off the Demons for the year then, Jason?
No.
So it was a rather silly question late in the first half.
Put on the line. Put on the line. Come on the line, Harry.
10-goal first half for the Blues.
Stand. Adam, come outside the boundary line, please. Outside it, thank you.
Cripps and Durden with 2 goals.
I've got it, mate. Stand. Play on.
Tomlinson.
Play on. No, station. Play on.
Gone over the top. Harms. Kennedy. Hit a volleyball from McGovern to Chera to centre field. Plenty more for Carlton fans to get a little bit excited about. There's plenty in the house that have enjoyed it tonight. Getting ready for Richmond in round 1. Before that, of course, it'll be a rematch of the grand final, but this time at the MCG rather than in Perth. And Melbourne and the Bulldogs set to do battle to get the season going. The last 50 seconds of the first half. Some tight hands from the D's. Can they get into some space? Gorn. Oh, Martin, how's that? Took the ball away, left Max in his wake, but in the end have turned it back over, and Langdon just slightly maimed as he kicked it. The chase from Jack Martin. Footy with Newman at fullback.
Play on.
Mackay, who played on with a handball. Mackay up on the wing, who we may not see in the second half. Smith got the fist to it. Hunt kept it in. Melbourne will get one last chance. Jackson in the front. He's swapped. Neil Bullen blazed his way through, and an awkward-looking kick. Just fade.
Thanks, Bailey. You can move.
Petrarca and Oliver, not unexpectedly, the leading disposal winners for Melbourne with 16. Kennedy the most pleasing with 18 for Carlton. Hewitt has 17. Sard will kick it in. There won't be much more after that. In fact, he doesn't even get his kick in, but plenty to like for Michael Voss. The former champion, the former Brisbane superstar as a player and coach, of course. Went to Port Adelaide, but now in charge once again, this time of Carlton. He'd be pleased with what his new troops have been able to deliver. 10 goals to 4 as we get ready for the AFL season and the return of AFL 360. Robbo back to join Jared on the chair.